Yeah, no, political season is just like, they just beat you down with the commercials. And
Speaking of beatdown, good gosh, Gonzaga.
did you see the play though? Did you see the play
What play?
where like Gonzaga's up huge and the coach's son gets in and then somebody just yammed on him?
No.
Absolutely, yeah. It was like, yeah, the coaches. It's like John Calipari type situation. He gets his son in the game because they're up like whatever it was, like 30 something. They're 30 balling him, and yeah, his
dunked on.
Oh, you got to look it up. He got absolutely just like posterized.
Mark Few's kid?
I think so. I just saw it on Twitter, so. I do like the idea you said though about dressing up as like fast food people. That is kind of funny.
Yeah,
Colonel Sanders.
I was going to be Colonel Sanders.
Yeah,
but
it made me think like what fast food person would I want to dress up as? Which I don't know. I feel like,
well, and the thing is we wanted to do, like what we have in Bolivar, like so it's not Shake Shack because nobody knows it, but you have to recognize who it is. So Wendy's, the dressing like Wendy,
mm-hmm.
Colonel Sanders, the King from Burger King.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Little Caesars, pizza, the little toga guy.
Pizza.
We don't have Chick-fil-A, but if you dress as Chick-fil-A, everybody's going to know what it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool. I like that. The little family, deal.
We have, we don't anymore because Christmas is already up.
Oh, geez. I can't do it. My wife's been begging me.
Pictures from the last 4 or 5 years of the costumes. So we got the Addams Family and Friday Night Lights and the Avengers and Harry Potter and the Christmas. We did Christmas last year.
Oh, I know. That's why I was upset when you told me you didn't do it. I was upset. I was worked up.
Yeah, we had a plan, but it just, and part of it, honestly, is who was going to come. I mean, we had it's kind of funny because your kids switch teams, youth teams.
Mm-hmm.
That was who it was that came to the get-togethers.
Yeah,
was my son's teammates' families, and now we're all on different teams, and it's like you have a new crew, and it's like we haven't really done anything because everybody's so busy, and
it's been, I haven't played like select ball in like 15 years.
This is dumb, but the Bolivar football schedule, like they had 2 back-to-back home games to end the season, and then hosted the first round of districts. So that kind of wiped out a Friday night.
Yeah.
And so it was what it was. We weren't going to do it on Halloween because we don't live in a trick-or-treat. We used to live in a trick-or-treat area where everybody came to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now we live in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah. Did Bolivar win on Friday?
Yes. Beat Monat. They go to Carl Jones.
Do you think everybody should make the playoffs?
I don't mind the way it's set up. I mean, I grew up in Indiana where everybody in every sport made what they called sectionals there. It's a district here.
Yeah.
And everybody made the sectional, regardless of what sport you were in. And then kind of the same way here where everybody makes a district. So
yeah.
I like the way that they set it up with the 10th game is everyone's.
Yeah.
So everybody gets to play 10 games regardless. And then you go from there. But I don't mind it.
Yeah. And
I know people hate it. So
I think that I don't know if you would say it's fair. I think it's fair. It's high school sports. Give everybody a chance. And then beyond that too, like there's a gap, right? A lot of teams get first round buys. There's very rarely upsets, that happen. So I don't really ever, I don't know. I guess it's only been in place for 12 or 14 years now.
Yeah.
So I just had seen on social media people like posing the question, like, why are they still doing this?
I was looking at Missouri Scoop on X, and it's 2024 reimagined football playoff format.
Really?
So I haven't had a chance to really look at it, but it looks pretty interesting. They have a couple of poll questions. Should the football season be moved up a week to allow for the state title games to be played on Thanksgiving weekend?
Absolutely.
And should there be 5 classes or 6 classes of football excluding 8-man? So take 8 men out of the equation. Currently, we have 6 classes. Should there be 5 or 6?
I still think there should be 6. There's really, really good Class 5 schools who are never going to beat some of those Class 6 schools.
All right, I just entered your votes, and
Thank you.
You are in the majority on both answers thus far.
I liked whenever they had the state championship games on, like they were on like Black Friday, the Saturday following Thanksgiving. It just felt really appropriate, I guess. I don't know. Call it just.
Are they currently like the week after?
Yes.
So they're in December?
It's only been like that for a few years now.
See, I'm all about that. I think Indiana is Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get into December in high school, you're supposed to be playing basketball, not football.
Yeah. 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 I'm already thinking about like the holiday tournaments at that point once December gets here.
I mean, college basketball started Monday night. So, I mean, I'm already passed on college football, and
you've been passed on college football for a minute.
The week before Labor Day. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Hey, it's all right. My Sooners are fighting for bowl eligibility at this point. So I get to go up to Columbia on Saturday, and
you're going to wear some black and gold.
I'm still undecided on that. I really am. I'm just scared. I don't want to get beat up or something.
Well, just realize when you hear MIZ and they yell ZOU, they're not yelling OU. They're yelling ZOU.
Yeah. So, yeah. I would have mistaken that.
Okay.
Welcome back into another episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. I'm your host, Noah Tucker, coming to you with a long intro. Byron Shive back in the studio with us.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and not really. I mean, it's just,
it seems like it.
We always got stuff going on at the Hall of Fame. Upcoming induction enshrinement ceremony in St. Louis, November 24th. We'll have that full class in the podcast description down below. Looking forward to that one. We were just talking. What's been new with you?
Not much. Just moving along. I mean, we were working on earlier today. You mentioned St. Louis, but we got our first ever Deck the Hall Christmas movie trivia night coming up on December the 4th. That's the week after Thanksgiving. And so that's going to be a fun event. We were kind of talking about it. Huge auction. I mean, in terms of Christmas presents, I mean, there's so much signed autographed memorabilia that everybody should check it out. We'll have QR codes all over social media and everything of people that you can bid right from your house. So,
for sure.
But that'll be fun. And St. Louis, great class in St. Louis. And then, of course, we got Springfield right around the corner. We'll be announcing it in early December as well.
Yep. Looking forward to it. The calendar turns over and we keep churning away. So, man, what's been going on? I guess the Chiefs won on Monday night.
Well, they win every time they play. So.
Yeah. It's, man, I wonder what the league thinks of the Tennessee Titans for giving Patrick Mahomes DeAndre Hopkins. Honestly. I mean, I think they got like
sack of nails and a Twinkie. I
was going to say a second round pick and a lifetime supply of Cheetos, but pretty much the same thing. So
yeah, the catch he had, they were actually losing, I believe, is 7-3 in the second quarter. And Mahomes throws, looked like triple coverage. I mean, placed it right on a dime and he made some over the shoulder. I still don't know how he made the catch, but obviously you're combining those two, and good luck rest of the league.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't seem like a unstoppable team. They've had a lot of injuries, especially right now in the wide receiver room, and they still find ways to win. It goes to OT. They get a coin toss. Everybody talked about Todd Bowles and scoring there late in regulation, not going for two. Hindsight's always 20/20.
I saw his quote afterwards, and he gave it brief consent. I mean, it was like never a serious thought, I guess is the best way to say it. He believed that they'd win in overtime, so he didn't want to risk it. So
did you see Mayfield's reaction to the coin toss though? And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's over."
Well, it's inevitable when that happens.
Well, I think the Bucs. I think their defense has kind of been surprisingly a little worse than they had expected. And it kind of showed at times. The Chiefs ran the ball really well against them. And then on top of that, that overtime drive was just super methodical, grind all the way down the field. But it was just they just continued to have positive play after positive play.
I mean, even going back to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, that went to overtime. I think San Francisco kicked a field goal on their first possession. And it was at that point, okay, well, this is inevitable. They're going to go down and score a touchdown. So, yeah,
it definitely, I don't know. I feel like every time I watch the Chiefs, it gets more and more of that like prime Patriots feel, like that inevitable feel.
Yeah.
That it's
I've said this for the past year that, like it or not, the Chiefs are the new Patriots. They obviously living in Chiefs Kingdom, it's red and gold and here we go. But outside of that's how people view the Chiefs, as they're the new Patriots. So
yeah. Everybody kind of just gets tired of seeing the winning and whatnot. But I don't know. I don't think there's any end in sight as long as you've got Andy Reid at the helm. And I think as long as you got 15 under center, obviously you got to keep him healthy. But you have those two factoids. And it goes to show, like, Travis may not be producing as much. Yeah. They might have, their number one running back go down. It doesn't matter. It's still Mahomes. Yeah.
And
nobody else does.
One of the best coaches that's ever graced the sideline. I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic or whatever. He's Andy Reid is legit.
Yeah. I really enjoy his State Farm commercials too.
The nuggies, like that's the only thing bad I will ever say about Andy Reid is, can I get some of the nuggies? That's
have you seen the Bundle Rooski? Have you seen the Bundle Rooski? Oh my goodness, you got to watch it. Bundle Rooski. It's the new one that he's got within. He's like, Pat, try it, say it. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to say that.
Speaking of Patrick, I saw that he and his wife Brittany are perhaps looking to bring a WNBA franchise to Kansas City.
Oh, seriously?
Of course, they are part owners of the Current, the women's professional soccer team. I also saw that Jason Tatum is part of a group that's trying to bring a WNBA team to St. Louis. So
really,
wouldn't that be interesting if Tatum is? I honestly don't know how many teams they're adding.
Yeah,
and I don't know that they would add two in one state. So that's kind of a St. Louis versus Kansas City I-70 battle to get a WNBA team. So
for sure, yeah, no, and we've had this conversation before about what's the next major, sports team we might see, a second NHL team or an NBA team, a WNBA team, though. I don't know if we'd even considered that. But obviously you look at the size of that league and it's definitely up there in terms of the most likely to expand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would not doubt that whatsoever, that both St. Louis and Kansas City would probably be prime landing spots.
I think that they would both obviously support a WNBA franchise.
Yeah.
You got the name recognition, Mahomes and Brittany, and what their track record. They've built the only, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first stadium dedicated solely to women's soccer in the country there on the river, Missouri River. So you got that going, but then St. Louis in terms of, women's basketball, and you think of, Nafisa Collier that comes from there. There's just a tradition of Noelle Ivy, I think, is head coach at Notre Dame. There's just a tradition of, churning out top talent from the St. Louis area, and it's just a basketball hotbed. So, it would be awesome to both of them to get a team.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know how many teams they're adding, and I can't imagine they're going to put one on either side of the state. So
I'll take one. You take the other. Okay. If we had a WNBA basketball team in Kansas City, what would you name them? What would their mascot be?
Oh my gosh.
In St. Louis, how about this? In St. Louis, I would go with the Gateways.
The Gateways?
It's the gateway to the West, right? The Gateways. Think about all the other WNBA names, like
what about the Archies or whatever.
See, that sounded worse. I think that's worse. It's got to be something that somewhat ties to the city.
Well, they're both famous for barbecue.
Yeah, that's true. I think you could almost go barbecue for KC more so. I'm not taking sides, but
what about the briskets and the ribs?
Burn-ins, the burn-in.
The St. Louis ribs. I don't know if that works.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
I don't know history that well. Like KC, I automatically think of like the fountains and stuff.
What about the St. Louis spirits? Like the Spirit of St. Louis? Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
So you have the KC Current, the Chiefs, the Royals. You had the A's at one point. You had the Kings at one point in basketball. Queens. How about the Kansas City Queens? They used to have the Kansas City Kings.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Like a little homage kind of deal. Yeah, that would be neat. Interesting. I don't know. I still see now I'm still sitting here thinking we would get a second NHL team before we got anything else. But I don't know, because the WNBA, I feel like, is definitely like on the cusp of expanding. So
I don't know how many times I just saw that it was actually this week. So I don't know how many teams they're adding. when this is happening. I just saw that Mahomes had stepped over on one side and Jason Tatum was involved. He wasn't the he was a backer. You get the groups together. He wasn't the top of the heap with the checkbook, but he was certainly in there. He was probably more for the name recognition part of it.
He was the Ozzie Smith Amendment 2 guy. Is what he was.
Sure he was. Yeah, sure. But anyway, I thought that was interesting, sports related. So
for sure, we'll jump back around. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it while we're here. What about Flacco? What about Flacco?
Next question.
The Colts are not a bad team.
I still wonder what, I mean, you hear all the public, obviously this Flacco played this week because Anthony Richardson got benched, after the last game. And so everyone knows that he tapped his helmet and came out of the game for a play because he was tired.
Yeah.
And just reading between the lines and, like Jeff Saturday, commentator, Colts Ring of Honor, he, despite, his coaching record there in Indianapolis, he knows what's going on inside that building. He's got ears.
Yeah.
And something he said about Anthony Richardson in the aftermath of pulling himself out of the game for a play is that, that didn't sit too well in the locker room. And that they had to suspend him for a game to send a message that this isn't going to be tolerated. And so I wonder, they say Flacco is the quarterback for the rest of the year. Obviously, that was awful last week. That was just Sunday night. Obviously you're playing the Vikings got a good defense. They got all the exotic blitzes and everything else, but it was just it was a pathetic performance. And I don't know. I just I don't think the Colts are a win now team, and that's what people were saying. Well, they're trying to win now with Flacco. I just don't see it. They're not a what benefits you if you squeak into the playoffs as the 7th seed and get run off the field in the first round, and your quarterback that you thought was the future is not getting reps and not getting better.
Yeah.
So it's just sending a bad message. So, but my point, all of that is to say that I wonder how much of it was we're trying to win now and how much of it was we need to send a message, because it wasn't just the pulling himself out of the game. There's talk that he is not, first guy in, last guy out, watching extra film.
Yeah, he's just kind of the maturity thing.
Yeah, great guy, nice guy, but there's just questions about how's he leading by example.
Yeah, so. and first and foremost, I would go to the whole tap out thing, right? Whether it was true or not, my biggest issue with it, one, I don't like that he did tap out. Yeah. Second, lie to the media.
Yes.
Lie
and that's
to the
what
media.
Zaire Franklin, linebacker, has his own podcast. And because in his post game, they asked him about it. He goes, "Hey, I ain't going to lie. I was tired." And he was like, "No, lie.
Yes.
Lie."
No, seriously. And those guys get so much media training, and he's not a stranger to it. I mean, he was at the University of Florida. There's tons of media coverage in that program. And I was watching the game because I'm a Colts fan, and obviously it's not on this market, but I remember, he got up and he's tapping his helmet. I'm thinking, was he got a concussion? Because he's Glass Joe. He falls down and he's out for 6 games. And so, but then he came back a couple plays later. It just didn't make sense. Who
don't tell the truth in that scenario.
Absolutely, criticized him on that too was Chase Daniel.
Oh yeah,
he was you cannot do this. You are you set the tone for the rest of the organization, which he makes a fair point. But we talk about this a lot on this podcast, and I think he is an example, along with Bryce Young and other young quarterbacks who have come up in the league here in recent years, where the NFL is just expecting so much from prospects, guys right out of college. And it's like, what happened to development?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Patrick Mahomes sent his first year, greatest quarterback, whatever, one of the GOATs, right? He sat behind the biggest game manager, veteran who was just established and knew the game. And I just think that there is a flaw in the NFL right now in terms of like recruiting, getting tape on guys at the quarterback position, how they scout the guys at the quarterback position, and how they decide to go about developing them.
It's a financial thing, I think, because they have to find out on the rookie contract. You know, is this guy the future? We got to play him on the rookie contract when it's financially beneficial to the team, because obviously when you get drafted in certain rounds, your contract is essentially you're the number 4 pick. Here's your contract. You're the number 5 pick. Here's your contract. And so it's slotted where, you know, you get to the end of the rookie contract. If you don't know whether this guy's the future, you're not going to pay him the $100 million.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason that they throw him to the Wolves early on. But I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think Patrick Mahomes maybe is the quarterback he is today. If he's thrown to the Wolves in year 1, who knows? I mean, he may be better, he may be worse. But I think that the situation, like, it depends on what organization you go to. Like the Chiefs organization is able to do that. Look at Carolina. They're a train wreck. You know, they're just drafting quarterbacks left and right.
Yeah.
The Colts have been drafting quarterbacks left and right since the day that Andrew Luck retired. You know, they're running in old guys and drafting new ones and playing young guys, and they have not found the quarterback. Yeah. And that's the most important, you know, spot on the field. And so, you know, if you know, New England Patriots are struggling. I mean, they have not, I mean, you're not going to find an answer overnight to Tom Brady, but you know, they've,
but you start your
Mac Jones and Drake May ain't it.
Yeah.
So.
But then you go in, like, that's a whole fiasco too, because you sit your rookie quarterback, but then you start him halfway through the season whenever y'all suck. And it's like, is that you know, is that what you want to throw him into? Or?
But then, like Sunday night, you know, I'm watching Sam Darnold. Throw for 300 and some yards and just had his best game as a pro completion percent. He had like 84% completion percentage. Sam Darnold. I mean, is it because he's now in a situation with a coaching staff and an organization and players around him? Is it because the Jets were terrible? He was in Carolina. Now he's found a home. I mean, this is like his 4th team. Yeah. I think he played for the Broncos for a year or something.
He was with the 49ers.
And now he's, you know, I'm not saying Minnesota's going to the Super Bowl, but they're going to the playoffs. Yeah. And he's a big reason why. So I think it's all about fit. It's all about what players do you have around you? Is it, Houston struck lightning in a bottle with CJ Stroud. I mean, people don't forget. I mean, they had the number 3 or their 2 and 3 pick. I think it was. They drafted Stroud and then traded up and drafted Will Anderson. I mean, it seems like Houston's been drafting in the top 5 for the last decade. It's not true. It's not true, but it seems like it. And then now all of a sudden, I think they've got their guy for the future, and here they go.
But I don't think that's how, like, the organizations even view it. Is like, oh, we just keep drafting quarterbacks and we're going to strike one eventually. Like, no, look at the Cleveland Browns. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I just think that there's
the infamous jersey with, you know, it's got couch and then marked out, and it's got like 16 names on the back.
Yeah. But I just think that there's something to be said about having somebody like Joe Flacco on your team, and whether he's starting, whether he's educating, you know, a young guy. My thing is, all these teams, like, you look at Carolina, they get in this like this cycle of like quarterback drop, quarterback drop, quarterback drop. It's like, why don't you try to draft at a better position that you guys know you draft well, build up a salty defense and get you a good kicker, right? And maybe win some games that way. And then, hey, we've actually got some pieces here. I mean, Bryce Young was throwing to better guys when he was at Bama. You know what I mean? True. And then the only guy that he had that was worth a darn this year, they traded him off. And it's like, Andy Dalton ain't going to do anything with that either. You know,
but they got, it's interesting. I mean, most people would think Josh Allen, the Bills, is an elite quarterback, or certainly in the conversation of upper echelon. Yeah. His stats through the same number of games that Anthony Richardson has played currently in the NFL are essentially identical. And so a lot of people are saying that he's the comp, same style, you know, the dual threat, you know, big guy, whatever, big arm, college experience, didn't have a whole lot of starting experience at Wyoming and Florida, and that he's the guy. I mean, you tell me that's the case, I'll take that all day, every day. But, you know, he wasn't sitting on the bench, you know. So I'm of the opinion that throw him to the Wolves, let him get out there and make mistakes. It's, I'll tell you what, if he was playing Sunday night, I'm not saying the Colts would have won, but they would have had a better shot to win. Yeah. And part of that is that even though he's 2 of 20, he's also a threat to break a 50-yard run on you, or
True.
And also opens holes for Jonathan Taylor to run. So anyway, it's quarterback in the NFL. It's the most important position for a reason. So
yeah, I think it's the most important position in all of sports, hands down. So
and it took the Chiefs. If you look back in their history, you got the Steve DeBergs and the Trent Greens and the Alex Smiths, and they were certainly good quarterbacks, but they did not take them to that elite level.
Yeah.
Now they've got their guy.
Yeah.
And he won't be traded. He won't be released. He'll be a Chief for life.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and he's part of that. You talk about kind of like Allen, or I'll throw Lamar in there. Kind of there's an elite, like you can have a really, really good quarterback, but then there's kind of an elite circle of quarterbacks who just make everybody else better. That's a different type of player whenever everybody else gets better.
Patrick Mahomes 100% this year especially.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember who it was that it was on a broadcast on Monday night. They were saying Mahomes, we compare him to like basketball player now with like how he does different things, like how he makes moves on the field. We've never seen that kind of stuff on a football field. But I think on Monday, like he had like a scramble where he flipped it to P. Ryan. He flipped it to the running back. And it's like, I don't ever remember quarterbacks really making a lot of plays like that.
But
he does it all the time.
He didn't make a 360 and then backwards hurdle over a guy Saquon Barkley.
That was insane. And I thought he got hurt on that play too.
That was unreal. Watching the sidelines go crazy. That was
oh
awesome.
Yeah. Have you seen some of those camera angles where it was like when you make a whole NFL sideline, just pure athletes go, oh yeah. I don't know, man. That's just like wild. I don't know how you do something like that. He's just like pure athleticism, just everything.
So we're essentially halfway point of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl in the AFC, but who's going out of the NFC?
Well, we kind of
assume you believe the Chiefs. I mean, I don't know who's beating them. So
yeah, the Chiefs in the AFC. Baltimore's not far behind though. Baltimore is not far behind.
Well, they got to go to Arrowhead.
Yeah, as of right now, as of right now, as long as the Chiefs keep pace. We had this conversation a little bit last week. I still think the Eagles are solid. I think the Eagles are a solid team. But right now, I think nobody wants to mess with the Detroit Lions.
I was going to say
nobody wants to mess with the Detroit Lions.
I think Detroit is. I love Dan Campbell.
Oh yeah,
and they're playing some good football. So
you can't. If it wasn't for Dan Campbell, nobody would really care. I don't think about the Lions.
And I think obviously you got to watch out for the 49ers only because they're starting to get healthy. I think McCaffrey comes back this week. By the time the end of the season gets here, are they rounding into form that kind of got sidetracked with injuries? But
I think as of right now, though, this week, I think that NFC West belongs to the Arizona Cardinals, maybe at like 5-4.
Atlanta's good. Arizona's good. Like
what is going on?
Alternate universe are we in? But Detroit Lions, it used to be can you remember? I can remember growing up every Thanksgiving, the Lions. It's like, why are the Lions on TV? They're terrible. And so this year, you actually are excited to watch the Lions play football.
For sure. Sure. I don't watch as much NFC ball, but like, I don't know. I'm not really worried about the 49ers. I'm not worried about the Bucks, obviously. Cowboys
Minnesota's defense is salty, and Justin Jefferson, he had 5 catches the other night for 20 yards or more. Yeah, which is that says more about the Colts defense than it does him probably. But so their offense can score points. Philadelphia is certainly salty, but the Lions, man,
one that I would want to see do well come playoffs is the Redskins.
Jaden Daniels is another guy that I wasn't bought into him. I didn't see I was
not bought into him
I didn't
at
see
all.
It.
I mean, and like Sam Darnold, I've said it for years. I'm like, Sam Darnold, like he's trash in college. Yeah. He's trash when he's on the Jets. He's still trash. But he gets the right fit.
Yes.
And it's like, the guy has talent. The guy
was throwing some nice balls the other night too. Yeah. So
the Redskins are fun to watch. They've got a lot of like, dump me skill guys. Like, somehow they land Austin Eckler and they got all these guys that they've drafted and all this. And it's just, I just have a feeling that come playoffs, they're going to fold. I don't know, just because that organization hasn't had success in so long.
I just think that the mentality, Detroit is built with, they are Dan Campbell. I love that dude. They're playing solid football in all 3 phases, and they will punch you in the mouth on offense or defense.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know.
I'll give you an AFC team is if the Texans can get healthy. I think they match up really well against the Chiefs because if they have Stephon Diggs, if they have Nico Collins, if they have Tank Dell, if they have Mixon, if they have the Schultz kid, that's a lot of weapons to cover. And I just think they can. I think they can score with the Chiefs. If
they're what AFC team can go into Arrowhead in January and win, and first of all, apparently no one in the last. I mean, they've played in 7 straight AFC Championship games and won 6 of them. I think Cincinnati was the only one. The year that Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams is the only year that Mahomes as a starter.
I think you're right.
Not ended in the Super Bowl. I think
you're right. Yeah,
but who's going into Arrowhead in January is the question because they're going to have the 1 seed. No one's beaten them in the divisional round. Mm-hmm. So who's going into Arrowhead in January?
Not the Miami
Baltimore
Dolphins.
Can do it.
Yeah.
But they lost on opening night there. So it's not like it's a given.
The Bills, you'd love to say the Bills, but it's like they've got that curse where it's like
they've got a curse. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like they need to go in there and win a last second game just to get over the 13-second loss, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other teams that could do it though in the AFC other than those 2.
Bengals, maybe. I mean,
only because Joey Ice or whatever is
Joe Shiesty.
Yes,
Joe Shiesty.
I mean, and was it last year? Was it last year they were in the AFC Championship? No. I think I was at the game 2 years ago.
No, last year was the Ravens. They played the Ravens on
the road.
Yeah.
So it was 2 years ago.
Correct. Yes.
And the Bengals led that game for a lot of it. And then
Chiefs won at 23-20.
So
yeah.
I mean, they could. I just don't know that the Bengals are playing good enough to do it.
Nah, I don't even know where the Bengals are at right
now. The
now.
Bengals would be probably the divisional round game, that they would have to beat them. So I mean, Stroud, they're coming. The Texans, I just don't know. I could see them getting up 17-0 in the first quarter and then losing 38 to 20 or something.
Yeah. So, gosh, what about the Pittsburgh Steelers though? But it's always the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. They're always like that. You're like, and they're 6-2. How are they 6-2?
Mike Tomlin's in the playoff.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Has he still got a winning record? I mean, I don't think he's ever had a losing record for the Steelers.
He's had 500 seasons. Of course, you don't have 500 seasons anymore. But yeah,
that's pretty impressive because he's been there 20 years.
He's one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL right now.
It's been a long time.
He's up there with Andy and I don't even know who anymore.
Belichick's gone.
Yeah.
So.
Pete Carroll's gone. There's so many of them that a lot of turnover on the coaching ranks too. But we're running out of time. If you've made it this far in the episode, thank you so much for joining us. New episodes of Where the Game Lives On every Wednesday, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We made mention of a few things that we've got coming up. Deck the Hall Christmas movie trivia. That's in December. But before that, St. Louis Enshrinement, November 24th. All of these things in the podcast description down below. We've also got a raffle going on right now. Super Bowl helmet raffle. Kansas City Chiefs full-size authentic helmet. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. I almost sound rehearsed. I'm so good with it. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing, though. We'll have new episodes all the time. Keep up to everything going on at the Hall of Fame and also Price Cutter Charity Championship. Don't always think about that.
Presented by Highland Dairy Foods.
Yeah, we have talked about that on the podcast. But follow us on socials for all of those things, Byron. Always good.
All right. Look forward to next week.
We'll see you next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.